Now, I will discuss the distinguishing characteristics of both kings and servants. A king should carefully consider the following aspects. He should protect the kingdom with a commitment to truth and virtue. After conquering the enemy, he should govern the land with righteousness. A florist gathers flower after flower, but does not uproot the plant. Similarly, the king should act in the same manner, not like a charcoal maker who burns down the entire forest. Those who milk a cow and drink its milk refrain from doing so if it turns sour. Similarly, the king should not defile the enemy's kingdom that is meant to be enjoyed. The person who desires cow's milk does not cut off its udders, they draw the milk instead. Likewise, the king who aims to tap into the resources of a kingdom should avoid causing harm to it. Therefore, the king should govern the earth with care and diligence. By doing so, he shall truly possess the earth, fame, long life, reputation, and strength. A king with well-controlled senses can protect his subjects only if his rule is righteous, if he worships Lord Vishnu, and if he is eager to serve cows and Brahmins. After acquiring temporary prosperity, it is essential for a king to focus on virtue. All material wealth can vanish in an instant, but the wealth of the soul remains. Indeed, it is pleasing to indulge in lust, and riches are indeed delightful. However, life is as unpredictable as the fleeting glances of a charming maiden. Old age, like a threatening tigress, awaits us. Diseases emerge throughout the body like enemies. Life slips away like water from a broken pot. Yet, no one in the world thinks of redeeming their soul. O people, serve others and engage in benevolent actions that will bring future benefits. Why do you rejoice now, without any suspicion, alongside a group of beautiful maidens captivated by Cupid's arrows, with your eyes closed to what lies ahead? Refrain from committing sins. Take refuge in Brahmins and Lord Vishnu, and begin your worship. Your life is slowly nearing its end, like water in a vessel. A great spirit disguised as death will pounce upon you. A wise person regards another man's wife as his mother, another man's wealth as a mere lump of clay, and all living beings as equals. It is for this reason that Brahmins desire their kings to be wealthy, so that their words will be respected and never disregarded during all their rituals. Kings amass wealth so that after fulfilling their own needs, they can give the remaining portion to the Brahmins. A king in whose realm the sacred sound of Om, uttered by Brahmins resonates flourishes. He attains whatever he desires and is not tormented by sickness. Even the sages make provisions for times of scarcity, and therefore, it is doubly important for a sovereign, who governs his subjects with a paternal spirit, to keep his treasuries well stocked at all times. Those who possess wealth have many friends and relatives. People consider those who possess wealth worthy of being called men and scholars. Friends, sons, wives, and relatives abandon a man who lacks wealth. When he regains his lost wealth, they come back to him. Therefore, wealth alone is a person's true companions and family, and no one else. A king who disregards the sacred codes is no better than a blind man. A blind man may see through spies, but a person who neglects the sacred codes cannot do so. The kingdom of a king is indeed unstable when his sons, servants, ministers, priests, and senses are inactive and unaware, always asleep. The king who has the valuable support of his 3 sons, servants, and relatives has effectively conquered the earth surrounded by the 4 oceans, along with other kings. A king who violates the teachings of scriptures and the principles of reason meets his downfall in this world and loses the right to heaven. A king faced with calamities should not lose heart. He should maintain equanimity in both happiness and sorrow and never lose the enlightened delight of his soul. Courageous individuals do not become sorrowful when misfortunes occur. Doesn't the moon rise again even after being swallowed by Rahu? Shame on those who yearn for bodily pleasures. Do not grieve over a thin physique or loss of wealth. It is well known that the sons of King Pandu and their wife experienced poverty for a while but emerged unscathed and lived happily ever after. A king should maintain a group of courtesans and support their arts of music and dance. He should provide ample protection to the fields of archery and economics. A king who unjustifiably becomes angry with his servants is akin to ingesting the venom expelled by a black serpent. A king should avoid fickleness and falsehood when dealing with all individuals, especially Vedic scholars and his personal attendants. Top of form. If a king becomes complacent, proud of his servants and relatives, and indulges in leisure and amusement, he is bound to be outwitted by his enemies. It is disgraceful for a king to become agitated and angry without valid reasons towards others. He who unjustly punishes his servants becomes vulnerable to enemy attacks. A king should forsake sensual pleasures and enjoyments. Such individuals become easy targets for enemies who are always vigilant. Enterprise, adventurousness, courage, intellect, prowess, and valor. Those who possess these 6 qualities are regarded with wary awe, even by celestial beings. When the results are not remarkable despite energetic efforts, it may be due to adverse fate. Nonetheless, humans should persevere and engage in fruitful activities. Chapter 5. Servants come in various types: excellent, average, and base. They should be employed appropriately in different types of tasks. I will now explain the process of testing servants and the qualities required for different positions as described by experts in this field. Similar to how gold is tested through rubbing on a touchstone, cutting, beating, and melting, a servant is evaluated based on their appearance, behavior, lineage, and actions. A person from an honorable family, possessing good character and qualities, truthful and virtuous, as well as handsome and well-mannered, should be appointed as the head of the treasury. The chief jeweler should be someone capable of assessing the value, shape, and size of gold, gems, and other precious items. The commander-in-chief should be able to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the soldiers. The leader of the watch and ward should be someone who can read minds, interpret every gesture, physically strong, pleasing to the eye, accurate, and capable of delivering timely blows. The chief secretary to the king should be intelligent, adept in conversation, shrewd, truthful in speech, have control over their senses, and well-versed in various scriptures. The chief ambassador should be intelligent, perceptive, able to understand others' thoughts, unflinching in speaking the truth, and straightforward. The officer responsible for virtue should have extensive knowledge of sacred texts, be a learned scholar, possess self-control over their senses, and embody qualities like heroism and courage. The head cook should come from a lineage of previous cooks, be skilled, truthful, well-versed in scriptures, personally hygienic, and capable of hard work. The royal physician should be well-versed in Ayurveda, with practical experience, possessing all the qualities of a decent person, and maintaining an appealing appearance. The royal priest should be highly knowledgeable in the Vedas and related texts, actively engaged in recitations and fire rituals, and readily bless everyone. Whether they are writers, reciters, accountants, or chief executives, anyone found to be lazy should be immediately dismissed. The mouths of wicked individuals are a source of distress, similar to serpents, as they are deceitful, causing pain and fear. Even if a wicked person happens to be a scholar, they should be avoided. Just as a serpent, adorned with a precious gem on its head, remains terrifying. Who isn't afraid of the wicked? Who becomes furious without provocation? It is the wicked individuals from whose mouths poisonous words flow continuously, resembling the venom of a deadly serpent. If a salaried servant of the king becomes so wealthy that they rival the king, possess equal competence, have knowledge of the king's secrets and vulnerabilities, are highly industrious, and claim half of the kingdom, there is no harm if the king puts them to death. Servants who initially showed bravery, spoke gently and truthfully, and displayed self-control but later proved to be different should not be retained. Servants of this caliber are extremely rare. Those who are diligent, content, easily awakened in emergencies, possess equanimity in both joy and sorrow, and display courage. Any servant who exhibits any or all of these negative qualities should be promptly dismissed: lack of patience, dishonesty, a cruel temperament, speaking ill of others, arrogance, gluttony, deceitfulness, greed, inefficiency, and cowardice. The king should ensure his fortress is equipped with a wide array of powerful weapons before attempting to conquer his enemies. If the king is not adequately prepared, he should seek a peace agreement with his enemy for a period of 6 months or a year, and once he is well prepared, he can launch an attack on the enemy. If a king appoints foolish individuals to various positions, it will result in disgrace, loss of wealth, and suffering in the afterlife. Whatever actions the king undertakes and whatever acts his servants commit, whether virtuous or sinful, the king will bear the consequences. His fate will either thrive or decline accordingly. Hence, a king should employ intelligent and capable individuals in positions of virtue and wealth for the welfare of cows and Brahmins in the state. Chapter 6. One should hire only competent servants and not the inefficient ones. Scholars possess all good qualities, while fools exhibit numerous faults. Always choose to sit in the company of good people and associate with them. Engage in discussions and form friendships with the virtuous, rather than the wicked. Even in adverse circumstances, associate only with the learned, humble, virtuous, and truthful individuals. Outside of such situations, avoid associating with the wicked. By completing all unfinished tasks, one can achieve wealth. It is important to make a commitment to finishing tasks that have been left undone. Similar to how a honeybee extracts honey without causing the fall of the flower, a king should collect revenue from the realm without harming it. A cowherd leaves some milk for the calf and takes the rest. Similarly, the king should collect resources from the land but ensure plenty is left for the subjects. Just as a honeybee collects nectar from various flowers, the king should accumulate wealth by taking a little from each source. Ant hills, honey, the waxing moon, and alms increase gradually. Observing that even small amounts of collyrium and ink, when used daily, eventually run out, while an anthill grows day by day, one should be cautious not to waste time. Engage in charitable activities or pursue self-study instead. A wicked and lustful individual will encounter numerous obstacles, even in a forest. However, if one can control their five senses, they can practice austerity even within their own home. Engaging in blameless activities and being free from passions can turn one's home into a hermitage. Virtue is safeguarded by truth, knowledge is enhanced through continuous learning, a pot remains intact through regular cleaning, and a family thrives through good conduct. It is preferable to dwell in the Vindhya forest, to perish without partaking of food, to sleep in a serpent-infested spot, or to leap into a well. All of these options are better than having to say, please give, or beg for money from one's own relatives. Wealth diminishes when fortune declines. It is not the act of enjoying itself that depletes a person's riches, rather, it is the end of their good fortune that leads to their downfall. Knowledge adorns a Brahmin, a king embellishes the world, the moon is an ornament of the sky, and good conduct serves as an adornment for everyone. Bhima, Arjuna, and others were born as princes. They were charming and delightful like the moon, courageous and truthful like the sun, and were lovingly protected by Lord Krishna. Yet, even they were subjected to extreme misery due to the influence of malevolent planets, they had to resort to begging for alms. When fate is adverse, who can accomplish anything? The current of past actions tosses everyone about. Homage to karma, which compels Brahma to work like a potter in the cosmic bowls, which cast Vishnu into the distress of 10 incarnations, which forces Rudra to beg for alms with a skull in his hand, and which causes the sun to traverse the sky endlessly. The donor was King Bali, the recipient was Lord Vishnu himself, and the gift was the entire earth, all in the presence of learned Brahmins. Yet, what did he receive in return? Only bondage. Oh, fate, I bow to you, as you work as you please. The mother is goddess Lakshmi herself, the father is Lord Vishnu, yet if the son, Cupid, were to possess a twisted mind, who should be held accountable for it? Man only experiences the consequences of his previous actions, whatever he has done in past lives is now bearing fruit. Happiness is determined by oneself, and so is sorrow. Even the womb one is born into is in accordance with actions from previous births. A person can never escape the consequences of their actions, whether they soar high in the sky, dive deep into the sea, or climb the highest mountain. Whether they are held on their mother's head or cradled in her lap. Even Ravana met his demise at the hands of time. Ravana had his fortress on the peaks of Mount Trikruta, surrounded by the vast sea, and countless valiant Rakshasas who were willing to sacrifice their lives for him. The wise sage Ushana, Shukracharya, himself instructed him in ethics, politics, and social economy. Everything occurs in accordance with preordained age, time, day, night, hour, or moment. Nothing happens otherwise. No matter how far people may travel, whether they soar in the sky or venture into the depths of the netherworld, they will not obtain what is not bestowed by karma. The knowledge gained from past experiences, the wealth given as a gift, and the actions performed previously, all these precede a person who walks swiftly. Only actions hold significance. Consider Janaki, Sita, whose marriage was celebrated under auspicious celestial alignments and with the Lagna, auspicious hour, determined by sage Vasishtha himself, yet she had to endure great suffering. Auspicious signs and physical attributes are of no use when one's actions clash with their consequences. Even Rama, known for his strong calves, Lakshmana, swift as sound, and Sita, with thick and glossy hair, had to endure great suffering. Neither a son performing rituals for the welfare of his father, nor a father performing various rites for the benefit of his son, can protect them from the negative effects of their actions. In bodies shaped by our actions, both physical and mental illnesses manifest rapidly, much like arrows shot by a skilled archer. Therefore, a courageous person should interpret worldly matters based on the teachings of scriptures, and not otherwise. In each birth, a person experiences the consequences of their past good and bad actions during different stages of life, be it infancy, youth, or old age, corresponding to when those actions were performed. Just as a strong wind forcefully propels a boat, karma drags a person against their will, bringing them to the place where they must face the consequences of their actions, even if it means traversing distant lands. A person inevitably receives what they are destined to receive, and not even a deity can prevent it. Therefore, I neither lament nor am surprised by these events, for one's fate cannot be erased. When pursued, a serpent seeks refuge in a well, an elephant in its tethering post, and a mouse in its hole. But who can escape from karma, which surpasses all temporal constraints? True knowledge, when assimilated, never diminishes. Instead, it grows when shared with others, much like a well that replenishes its water when drawn out. Wealth acquired through virtuous means becomes stable and flourishes even more when coupled with virtue. Therefore, when pursuing wealth, remember this and seek virtue, thus becoming esteemed in the world. No one becomes miserable when, in the pursuit of virtue, they endure hardships similar to those faced by a poor person seeking food. Among all forms of purity, purity in food is excellent. If one becomes impure by consuming unhealthy food, they cannot be cleansed merely with clay, water, or any other cleansing substance. There are 5 purifying agents: truthfulness, a pure mind, control over the senses, empathy towards all living beings, and water, which is the 5th in the series. One who upholds truthfulness and purity easily attains heaven. Truthfulness surpasses even the effectiveness of performing a horse sacrifice. A person who is habitually wicked, whose conscience is numbed by evil thoughts, cannot be cleansed even with 1,000 lumps of clay or 100 pots of water. The one who keeps their hands and feet clean, maintains perfect control over their mind, and acquires knowledge, penance, and fame, reaps the rewards of a pilgrimage. The traits of a saintly person are as follows: they are not excessively elated by honor, they do not become angry when disregarded, and they do not speak harshly when angered. At the outset, people may not fully appreciate wise advice given at the right time by an intelligent and eloquent person of humble means. Whatever one is not destined to attain cannot be obtained through mantras, strength, valor, intellect, or any other means. So why lament over it? I received something unexpectedly, but when I returned it, it went back to where it came from. So, why should I lament? During the night, birds gather together on a tree to rest, but in the morning, they go their separate ways. So, why should I lament? We all have the same destination, and we're all heading there. If someone reaches that destination faster, what is there to lament about? Living beings arise from the unseen, and when they die, they merge back into the unseen. In between, they exist in the visible world. So, why should I lament? If the time of death has not arrived, even if someone is struck by 100 arrows, they won't die. But when that time comes, even a slight prick with a blade of grass can end their life. A person only receives what they are destined to receive, and they only go to the places they are meant to go, as determined by their actions. Whether it's suffering or pleasure, they only experience what is destined for them. A person receives the consequences of their actions, karma, alone. So, why should they shout and cry? Just like flowers and fruits adhere to their designated time, the effects of past actions manifest in due course. Conduct, lineage, education, knowledge, qualities, or the purity of one's lineage do not determine a person's fate. Just as trees bear fruit due to the good deeds they accumulate, it is austerities and virtuous actions that bear fruit in human beings. A person encounters death where there is a killer, and wealth where there is abundance. Guided by their karma, a person goes to the respective places destined for them. Just as a calf can identify its mother among 1,000 cows, the consequences of past actions approach the individual. Enjoy the fruits of your merits, O fool. Why should you be distressed? What you do now will undoubtedly follow you in the future, whether it be good or bad. The wicked and the petty observe the faults of others, no matter how insignificant they may be, just like mustard seeds. However, they see their own faults as large as bilva fruits but pretend not to notice them. O Brahman, those who are polluted by lust and hatred cannot find happiness anywhere. Upon careful consideration, I realize that true pleasure lies in enlightened bliss. Attachment is the cause of suffering, as fear follows in its wake. Therefore, by abandoning attachment, one can find happiness. The body serves as the foundation for both misery and happiness. Life and body come into existence simultaneously. Pleasure is followed by pain, and pain is followed by pleasure. Pleasure and pain spin like wheels in human life. What is in the past is gone forever, and if anything is yet to happen, it is still far off. Those who focus solely on the present are not afflicted by sorrow.